Okay, so this is the first tow. It's about 6 a.m. On a Friday morning. Towing the Airstream, a little intimidated, not gonna lie. It was delivered here after the other one essentially got totaled. So it's been a while. It's been since November since I've towed a rig, much less towed a new one. So new truck, new rig, new tow. Hoping things go well. Still kind of have to lock in the equalizer hitch, but we'll see how it goes. Keep you updated from the road. So I chose this route along I-80 because it was recommended from some friends at work. And it turned out to be, it did not disappoint, it turned out to be a beautiful drive. Kind of gets real, kind of more mountainy, more granity. You kind of leave those little grassy rolling hills of the coast, and then you get into this kind of stuff that I'm showing here. So yeah, totally beautiful drive. Ended up going up through Truckee, dropping into Lake Tahoe itself, going around a quarter of the rim, and then going up out of Tahoe and into Carson City, and then to Mindon, where I was staying in the campground there. So I did want to show, shortly after pulling out of Harbor RV Park, I did stop at Pomo Park, which is right down the street, to kind of adjust the final equalizer hitch. That's us there at the park. Just had to put the final torque on the nuts on the hitch and adjust up and down a little bit to make sure it was balanced right. I played around with a tool called a haul gauge. It's supposed to be a digital weight measurement tool. It plugs into your OBD port. These are screenshots of it. I did find it to be kind of inaccurate. If you look at the weight gauge there, it's kind of different depending on how you accelerate to get the measurement. This is the actual cat scale weight, which I was pretty happy with. The drive axle is a little bit over, so I probably need to set the hitch up a little bit more, but overall it looked pretty good for the total weight. And this is us crossing over the Nevada border in Lake Tahoe. So I thought I would show a little footage of driving around one segment of Tahoe. I don't remember which segment this was. The day after I arrived, I ended up doing the full loop around Tahoe with the GoPro running the whole time. So I got tons of footage, but more than anybody would want to see. But this was kind of one of the more classic villagey parts of Tahoe. This was during late June, I think. And despite COVID and the whole pandemic, you see quite a few people without masks, a few with. It was still super busy. The roadside was just lined with cars, people walking everywhere. But it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You do see some of the aspens there, which is kind of pretty. Tons of these cool little shops. I wish COVID wasn't going on, because it would have been a fun place to walk around, and as obviously some people are, and visit the shops and kind of sightsee the town. As it was, I kind of stuck to driving and hiking and things that didn't involve being around people. This is the first kind of glimpse you get of the lake up there. There's a few boats in the dock. There was a really cool walking and bike trail that you see here that goes around most of this one segment of the lake, and again, that would have been really fun to try with a bike or just running. But super pretty, super clear day. I ended up coming back later to get the drone footage you see here, and at the time I came back, the fire season in California was in full swing, and the whole lake was just smoked out. Still got some drone footage, but this is the prettier of the couple days there. You see some boats out there in the harbor. There's these cool little shops, and like I say, it would have been fun to stop by and experience the whole thing. Be something to do later, come back and see it again once COVID's died down. But yeah, just a pleasant drive around the lake. Super pretty, super clear day. So just wanted to show the view from the Silver City RV Resort park in Mindon. This is where we are staying. A little windy. Super pretty view in the desert. So just wanted to recap the towing experience with the Airstream. First time towing. Pretty intimidated about that. I've had the Airstream for 6 months. They delivered to Fort Bragg, California after I essentially totaled the R-Pod. And I hadn't towed it since then, no, at all really. So setting up the first time, not knowing how the truck was going to work, having the hitch installed, the whole thing, it went really, really well. Super happy with the whole thing. Like it was a really good experience. So I hitched up with the hitch kind of in the preliminary configuration without the final nuts like completely torqued down, and then we towed over to Pomo Park and parked there because it was the most level. The campground wasn't completely level, so parked there and then did the final adjustments. I kind of went up and down, did some measurements with the hitch, got it locked in, and then started towing. So it really went through the paces. We went up Highway 20 on the way out of Fort Bragg. Highway 20 is this super curvy, windy road. It's where the old trailer was totaled due to a pothole. So, towed all the way out there. Did really, really well. I was worried about the power with the Chevy. The 1500 is probably a little underpowered for what we're towing. It's right on the line as far as the weight that it can support, but it did really, really well. Consistently, I don't think, in the whole trip, I think 4,000 RPM was the highest I saw, and that was going uphill from a stopped position towing the trailer, so it did really, really well. 2,000 was pretty consistent, maybe 3 if going on a strong uphill. So it did really well at coming out of Highway 20, and then we towed up the 101, I think, for a while. Maybe it was all Highway 20. And then on the 5, we went to the 5. The 5's not incredibly hard. And then got on I-80. I-80's okay for the most part until you hit the mountains, and then there's a lot of uphills, there's a lot of downhills. Went really well. I had forgotten that you have to, the brake controller has to be set to a certain amount of volts. So initially, I guess it comes out of the package with the highest amount of volts, so I may have given the brakes too much juice. So now there's an overload error on the controller. I don't know completely what that's about. The highest level is 14, which apparently it was set at, and then in looking at the Airstream manual, 2 should be the max. So I had backed it down to about 5. I was getting a lot of brake lockup from that, and the brakes were smoking a little bit too. So I hope no damage is done, but we'll see. I'm hoping just setting it at a threshold of 2, and then looking for that error. Hopefully it's fine. I got it under the rig to see if there's any like wiring burned or anything, but I don't see anything. So hopefully the magnets aren't messed up. That would be the bad thing. Yeah, so it did really, really well. No sway. Of course, we didn't really have a whole lot of wind. It wasn't really a lot of open highway. Kind of just going up through the mountains, so there wasn't a whole lot of wind to deal with, but no real sway problems. It tracked pretty well, followed pretty well. The Chevy didn't seem to have any trouble handling it in any way. The tow haul mode is awesome. So this is built into the Chevy. So with that enabled, what ends up happening is when you brake, especially on the downhills, it ends up using the gears automatically to try to help with the braking part. So you don't have to downshift and drive low or drive any of the other lower gears. It'll automatically use the gears to help you brake, which is awesome. Love that. Other stuff, let's see. The backup camera. The backup camera leaves some to be desired. A lot of disconnects. The resolution's pretty bad. In looking up some stuff and researching after the fact, the Airstreams are notorious for the metal kind of refracting the signal from wireless cameras. So looking into options about what to do about that. What I'm thinking is probably like a Wi-Fi camera, using like an iPod or iPad as the camera, which would give a little more room, and then maybe a Wi-Fi extension booster to boost it out to the front of the trailer. I would have to see if there's something like that would work off 12 volt while towing. Figure it out. I don't know that there's any 12 volts like the cigarette lighter connections. I mean there's inverted outlets, but I don't necessarily want to leave the inverter going while we're towing. What else? So got to check that out. Upon getting here, so we're camped in Silver City, Nevada. Temps are 96 outside right now, and it's currently 68 inside with the thermostat set at 66. 50 amp is awesome. Running both the ACs, which is great. Seems to keep it fairly comfortable in here. I think also having the awnings out helps a lot. Tends to cut down on the heat from the windows. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the climate control. I think we could probably do, a desert assignment in the middle of summer. Might need to add some reflectix behind keeping the curtains shut most of the time. But it's doing really well. I mean, it's enough that it's like chilly in here with the AC going. Sometimes the temperature, like the ambient temperature, will get up to maybe, I think I saw 76 yesterday. But with that, you constantly have cold air blasting the whole time, so it's kind of like there's still this comfortable chill factor, and it didn't feel warm at all. What else? Did some desert hiking yesterday. We're going to do some more today, and then Monday and Tuesday hoping to do some hiking in the Lake Tahoe area. Trying to save that till after the weekend. Saw coming through there, saw a ton of people. Didn't see a single mask in the whole place. So I'm kind of hoping to cut down on the crowds by coming in there tomorrow early morning. So we'll see how that goes. The disconnect, packing up camp and then setting up again went really well. I was finally able to kind of zero out the level 8 Pro, so I'm pretty confident on my levels right now. Awnings went super well. I haven't really used this before. The front is a powered awning, so that deployed super smooth. Super happy with that. Was finally able to weigh. Stopped by a cat scale at a Love's to do a weigh, and thankfully everything looks great. There might be 100 pounds too much on the rear axle of the truck, but the trailer's well under. It is with weight distribution on it, so it's hard to say. It came in at 62, and I think the base weight's 6,000, so I don't really think that's an accurate view of the trailer itself, but like I said, the weight distribution on the back axle is only 100 pounds extra. And I think what I may need to do is bump the ball up one more notch, and that might correct that, but we'll see. I plan to reweigh coming back through there and see how it looks. That was without water. There's plenty of room to add water, like a freshwater tank. But yeah, pretty happy with that. Couple little bouncing around things, so the handle of the hand towel fell off in the bathroom again. That's been an ongoing kind of struggle. I've reworked it a little bit and tightened it up, so hopefully that will be fine. If not, I'm just going to replace it. So we'll see how that goes on the next time. The free weight cabinet that I used for working out, those, it popped the door open, they kind of started sliding out, so I picked them up and set them on the floor, which worked fine. But I've added a push button lock to that cabinet now, so hopefully that'll just stay shut. We'll see how that works in transit. But the securing straps, I just use like one of those Velcro strip rolls. So the securing strips for the dehumidifier in the chair, that didn't work well. The dehumidifier started sliding around. So I've kind of reworked that a little bit, re-secured with another strap. So we'll see how that works on the next tow, but that was really the only things, for the most part. Everything else looked great, stayed in place, and not a whole lot to fix when I got here. So pretty happy about that. Yeah, so keep you posted as things evolve, and we'll see how the next trip out of here goes. See you soon. So this is a version of my hike today. This is why I love the desert. Just huge and open, huge skies. The smell of sage and creosote. Dry but windy. So pretty. Gotta go up that now. Okay, bye. I'm eating a Cliff Bar. But check it out. The reason I love the desert. As far as I can see, completely alone out here. This trail's been pretty rough. It's probably about 90, 94 out here today, which is fine. But this trail's been a lot of uphill and a lot of either loose, just gravelly rock like this, or it's been just straight up sand. So it's like walking uphill at the beach. It's kind of rough going. I'm gonna keep at it, just taking short breaks. Probably didn't bring enough water, but it'll work out. All right, back at it. So this is hiking along the Rubicon Trail at Lake Tahoe. This is seriously one of the prettiest and best hikes I've ever been on. Great way to get away. Glad I did this. Look at that view. The mountains up there. It's crazy. But watch my feet. This has been a great trip so far. Got to tow the Airstream for the first time. Did great. I got out here in nature again. For the most part, I'm just doing the stay 6 feet away from people thing, but I've put on the mask a couple times when passing people close. But I think all the data they're seeing though is saying that catching the virus outside is pretty unlikely anyway. So, but doing my part to socially distance. So this is, well, the lengths vary. The gal at the check-in station said 7.5 each way. The All Trails said this Rubicon Trail was like 16 something. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think I saw somewhere it listed as 14 too, so I don't know what to help with that. So yeah, beautiful day. It's probably somewhere between 60s to 80s. Cool with a little bit of breeze in the shade and warm in the sunlight. After my desert hike yesterday. This is nice. So it'll be up to this, I think it's Eagle Point. And then turn back around and do it again. I forget what that island's called out there. Emperor Island or something? You can't really see it well way out there. I thought about swimming out to it, but I don't see any other people in the water, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I haven't swum in a long time. Probably not the best to try it out in a lake, but it would be an adventure. Idea to come back and try. So check this out. This is absolutely stunning. We're here at Lake Tahoe on the Rubicon Trail. So pretty. Look at that water. Wow. Check it out. This is Eagle Point, or Upper Eagle Campground, I think. Look at that view. Wild. It's a nice little amphitheater here. Just gonna have some food and then head on back.
you doing? Cooling off? Are you cooling off? Is it cold?
All right, so just finishing up day 6 here at Mindon, Nevada. Could not have wished for a better trip. This was great. I haven't left Fort Bragg since I think March, and that was just to take hiker over here to the vet. So literally haven't been out of the town with the whole COVID lockdown in a while. And during the trip, did the whole social distancing thing, 6 feet from people, even on the trail. If I got near people, I would put a mask on for a minute and then take it off when I was past. So maintaining all the social distancing precautions. But day 6, I had 7 days off in a row. So day 1 was just the travel out of Fort Bragg, and then today we'll be headed back. But really couldn't have been a better trip. It was the first tow with the Airstream. Super intimidated about that, especially since the last trailer was damaged on the last tow. Went really well. I was nervous about the truck. Wasn't sure if it was going to be enough power, and it's probably still a little bit underpowered, but it did really well. Most of the time, 2,000 RPMs. Occasionally, I think the highest I saw was 4,000, and I'm not really in trouble until like 6 to 7. And 4,000 was like going uphill from a stopped position with the trailer. Tracked really well, didn't have any issues with sway. That being said, there wasn't a whole lot of wind, so hard to judge that. But downhills went great, uphills went great. The tracking was pretty well. So yeah. It really went well. The Airstream held up really well. The only issue I would say is the hand towel hanger in the bathroom came off the wall. I've had trouble with that already. It doesn't seem to want to stay put on its little mount thing very well. So I've retightened it. Hopefully I got it appropriate this time. If not, I'm just going to replace it with something from Home Depot when we get back. But we'll see how it goes on the return. Everything else did really well. I did figure out, I had forgotten that you have to set the brake controller voltage when you start out. So it was set to the factory default, which is like the highest at like 14 volts, and apparently the Airstream only needs 2. So I kind of smoked the brakes on the trailer at one point, and they were locking up. I didn't find out till later it was only 2 volts when I was looking up the Airstream manual. So I hope I didn't damage the brakes. We'll see. I've got it set way down, but I keep getting this overload warning. So I don't know what I need to do about that. So the brakes and the hanger, really the only things that were a problem. Everything really stayed put. There wasn't a whole lot of sliding around, even inside the cabinets. Everything really did pretty well. So yeah, it's done pretty well. We got here, took a little over 6 hours. We stopped at a Love's, and I got a Catskill Way. Super happy about that. The trailer came in well under the towing capacity for the truck. That being said, I think I have the Hitch Set up with a little too much weight distribution towards the truck. There's about 100 pounds too much weight on the rear axle of the truck, which isn't terrible. But I think it's also why the trailer looks that far under. It's probably more, but the only way to do that would be like to de-hitch and weigh it off the truck, which I'm not really gonna stop and do on a cat scale. So regardless, the whole what do they call it, the gross combined weight rating was well under. So did really well, happy with that. Did set up the hitch. I kind of had the hitch mostly set up before we left, but not the final adjustments because I'd never actually like towed it with the trailer. So when we pulled out of Harbor RV, we went over to Pomo Bluffs Park. It's a park there in Fort Bragg, and just pulled into a flat gravel space, and then I made the final adjustments and kind of set up the hitch and tightened and torqued the main bolts. The spot we were in the RV park wasn't completely level, so it was hard to do that ahead of time. And even in the park, there wasn't a lot of really level places to park to do it. So I went to the park and we spent about an hour. I see me and the dog. Spent about an hour setting that up, and then we got on the road. So, yeah. So as far as here, pulled into Mindon. So glad to be back in the desert. Like these huge skies are just so crazy. And then you get out in the desert, and there's that smell of like creosote and sagebrush and all that. Kind of that warm heat cooking all the smells, and it's just so crisp and clear. So did a few hikes out in the desert. Did one hike up. I'm looking at it out the window. It was kind of just a little mountainy hill close by here. I don't remember. Something. We did just a flat hike out in the desert, which was just kind of a walk around, and then this was just a hike up one of these little local mountain hills. It was super strenuous, though. It looks like it's a lot of four-wheeling out there, and the trail had turned into complete sand, and it was a lot of incline, so it was like walking uphill at the beach the whole time. Probably should have taken more water. Took a liter of water, which I needed a whole lot more. But got there and back fine. So got a little bit of a burn going on here. But this is like the first sun I've really had in a while. Fort Bragg is not super sunny. So happy about that. Had some great food, grilled every day, steak, chicken, had veggies and stuff. So it's been a great trip. Now, all of this could change, on the way back. We'll see. Fingers crossed that there's no issues getting back. I do have to back into the spot coming back into Harbor, and I've got 6 days more there before I have to move to a new campground. They're full after that. This campground is Silver City RV Resort in Mindon, Nevada, maybe 15 minutes from Carson City, and it took me 45 minutes to an hour to get into Tahoe. Probably 30 to 45 to get like onto Highway 50 or 89. That's the loop around Tahoe. But an hour to get to like where I was hiking and that sort of thing. So really close to a lot of fun stuff without paying primo to be in Tahoe itself. The hikes I got to do in Tahoe were awesome. I did the Rubicon Trail, which is kind of the classic around Emerald Bay hike. Really cool there. And then I did Cascade Falls hike, which is a little lake kind of next to Emerald Bay. I was planning to do Echo Lakes Trail as well. It was a little bit longer. We were going to do 2 hikes yesterday. Problem is, Tahoe's super crowded, especially this time of year. We're kind of at the end of June here, even with the COVID thing. Probably be more crowded without. But trying to find parking, and most of the trails tell you, get there first thing in the morning to find a parking spot. Well, If you want to hike multiple trails, though, the problem is you got to leave one and go to the other. So there wasn't parking at this other place, and it was way up this like single lane mountain road, which was super sketch because cars were coming both ways, and you kind of had to pull off, and it was a little crazy. So just one hike yesterday. Would have done more. Got some to-dos for the next time I'm here, but loved Lake Tahoe. I would love to get out in the water. If I know somebody with a boat, that'd be cool. I thought too, like jet ski lessons would be pretty fun to try out here, or like bring a paddleboard or a kayak. So we'll see. Some fun stuff to come back for. Yeah. So anyway, gonna get the rig packed up now, and it went fairly quickly the first time. Maybe it was just because I was taking my time. I didn't really think about it a whole lot, but it's about 7:30 and checkout's at 11. Want to get on the road a little bit ahead of that. Anyway, so gonna get cracking here and see what we can do. It's been a great time. So a few other things I forgot to mention. We are currently on the way back to Fort Bragg, California. This is in Nevada, currently on the 80. Just finished a huge stretch of concrete highway, which was a little nerve-wracking. That should be an interesting test of how much things bounced around in the trailer. So, but we did really well the first time. So. Yeah, so a few other things to mention. Got to try out the backup camera. I'm not super impressed with that. Right now it's got like 1, maybe 2 bars of signal. It seems to drop out a lot. So I may try to get a antenna booster for the camera back there. I think it's mainly the Airstream having a metal skin is kind of known to disrupt those wireless cameras. I think though that if I can get an antenna that's just higher, that's above the top skin of the Airstream, it might work. We'll see. It's not dropping out as much as it was. I think moving the cell phone holder away from the antenna helped. I moved to like a magnetic vent thing, which so far is working pretty well. I'm not super impressed with the resolution on this backup camera either, though. It's kind of hard to see stuff. So what I'm thinking, I found on Amazon, you can get a Wi-Fi camera, which I don't think it would reach signal-wise up here either, but I could use a Wi-Fi extender on one of the inverted USB ports towards the front of the rig to boost it, I think. And then I could use like maybe an iPad for the view. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, my thought being, I'd love to put an iPad up over the rear view mirror somehow, because then you don't, your eyes are already kind of trained to look at the rear view mirror. So sometimes looking at the dash, like there's just too many things to look at. Like it would just be more natural to look up there. So if I could get like a holder that would put it over the rear view mirror, I think that would work out well. What else? Oh, so as far as towing, the haul mode on the Silverado is awesome. It essentially automatically uses the gears when you're towing. So when you start to brake, it'll actually downshift. So instead of you having to do it manually, where you have to put it in drive low or one of the lower drive modes, it'll do it for you, which has been super cool. I think it works with the cruise control too to keep it, within range. I've found I haven't had to use the brakes as much with that, so that's pretty cool. What else? Oh, tested out the tire minder TPMS system, tire pressure monitoring. So this little guy right here. It's on my phone, which I like that rather than having something else up on the dash to look at. It's just an app on the phone. It syncs by Bluetooth. And once you have it running, like, it would give you a warning if, a tire pressure started to go out. Also gives you the temperature of the tires, which is pretty cool. So I got to try that out. Works well. Haven't had to put any air in the tires thus far. So I intentionally avoided, I didn't want to go up and over and down into Tahoe and then up the backside again to get back onto 80, which was the route it was trying to take us. So I just took, I think it was the 395 up to Reno and then got on the 80. There may still be some decent inclines and declines, but not all the up and downs on the little highways going into Tahoe. I just didn't see the point. So kind of up to Reno and then shooting over on the 80 over into California. Mileage. I took a picture of it somewhere. I think I got somewhere between like 10 to 15, maybe call it 12, towing, which is pretty good. I was, planning on getting 10 kind of as the worst case. I think there were times the Tacoma got 8 to 10, and there was a lot of incline kind of stuff. But this has done fairly well, and there has been a lot of uphill towing. Right now, going up, I don't know what kind of grade you would call this. It's a gentle slope. We're right above 2,000 RPMs, but it was right below a second ago, so it's doing fairly well. I'm happy with it. Still pretty impressed with the towing with this Silverado and the Airstream. Like I said before, there may be a little too much weight on the rear axle, so I probably need to move I think if I move the ball on the hitch up one, there's multiple spots you can put in the hitch, so if I move it up one, I think it shifts more of the weight back to the trailer, if I read the instructions right. So we're going to weigh again at the CAT scale in Williams, California, and see how things look again. And I want to try to get the back axle of the trailer kind of more centered on the weigh plate. But we'll try a weigh again, and then if it's still a little too much weight on the axle, we'll do that adjustment to the hitch. Oh, after the trip, so for the 6 months or so in Fort Bragg, the black tank, even with using the black tank purge or whatever you call it, the where you hook up the hose and it kind of washes the black tank out, even with doing that, every empty it was sitting around 10%, which I figure is just kind of sediment in the bottom. So I think I just put a couple flushes of water and a little bit of dish soap in before we left, and as of the trip and as of just emptying at the RV park back in Mindon, it was back at 0, so I'm pretty happy with that it kind of reset, and hopefully it sloshed around and kind of washed stuff out and then got us a good empty there. So I'm still getting the overload message on the brake controller, so I'm not super sure what's going on with that. There was some stuff to check. I found a little forum thing about it. It's a Taconcha P3, I think. It's the same one I used on the Tacoma. I just got another one. There was kind of some diagnostic stuff to run through. The worst case is that it would be the brake magnets. But beyond that, something about output shortage. I've got it set at 2 volts right now, which I think is the max. Word about the air conditioners too. So we've had a 30 amp spot at Harbor RV, and we had a 50 amp at this Silver City RV place. So this was the first time I could use both ACs, and you typically wouldn't even need that in Fort Bragg. Temps are usually 70s to 80s at the most.
definitely here. It was, I think the highest I saw was 96 during the day, and of course it's an Airstream, so metal shell and all. So both ACs running. I felt completely comfortable. You know, if it was like in the 1 teens, you know, out in the desert in Arizona, I don't know. Maybe it would be more uncomfortable. The thing is, even if the ambient temperature isn't cool, you've got cool air blasting from the vents the whole time. So I mean, it was cool enough that I put on a hoodie at various points, you know. So A+ on the dual ACs. They did a great job. Middle of desert Nevada, temps in the 90s, and I was comfortable in the Airstream. So pretty happy with that. I also used the awnings for the first time, and they worked really well. I think they shield the windows really well, so cutting down on the heat that comes through the windows was a definite plus. Fort Bragg, there's so much wind that, and you know, just kind of what's the point of putting out an awning? We had a lot of rain too, and they're not awnings for rain, they're like cloth awnings. So even in Nevada, there were some windy days, and if I was going to be out hiking for most of the day, like I put the awnings in. The other factor would be that, say, you know, I took an assignment in Phoenix, and we were in the 110s. I usually work night shifts. I sleep during the day. I do like it to be cooler to sleep, but the thing that I could do, and I will say the blackout curtains seem to contain the heat pretty well when I had them cold. They did a good job. But what I could do on top of that, I could put reflectants behind the curtains, and that would also help with the blackout for sleeping. So that's kind of the backup plan. The other thing I kind of figured out too is that I really want to get some towing mirrors. The backup cam, it's okay, but I still feel like I can't identify my corners on the back, and I think towing mirrors would help me see that. Right now I kind of see the front corners, but I can't see down the sides or the back. So that would at least one small thing to make the towing easier.